This is the second part of our video on how to use Google Forms as formative assessments. And I want to talk about two things in this video. And the first one of those is how you actually share the quiz. How do you get this quiz to your students? And then the second part is about collecting and analyzing the data that you receive through student responses to your quiz. And I want to talk about how you can look at how the whole class is understanding your lessons through the quiz, but also talk about differentiating through looking at the data that you've collected. So let's start with how you can share the quiz. And there are a couple of different ways to do this. If you'll notice, and this is the most basic way, if you'll notice, there's a send button up here on the edit screen for your form. So when I click that, I'm going to get a couple of options. And one of them is that I can simply email the quiz out to students. So I can put in either individual emails, or let's say I've created a class Google group. I could put that in here, put the subject and the message in, and they'll receive a link to the quiz that they can open up from their email and take the quiz. Additionally here, if we move over to this next item, is the link. And so I can get a link to this form from here. I could post this on the board. And you'll also notice there's this neat feature where you can shorten the URL. Now, it's not that much shorter, but maybe you could put that up on the board. The other thing that you can do with the link is you could put it in some other web tool that you're using. So if you're using something like Google Sites or any tool where you can insert a link, you can put that link in there. Students can click on it and then take the quiz. But there's another way to share quizzes through Google Classroom. And let me go ahead and show you that. So here I am in my sample classroom again. And what I want to do is I want to share our quiz on mammals in this classroom to all of the students that are in class. So if you'll notice, I've added a few more students so that we can really illustrate this, and I have 5 students in the class. So I'm going to go back to my stream here. And then I'm going to go down to my plus button, and I am going to create an assignment. And the assignment's going to be called Quiz on Mammals. And then the instructions are simply going to be to take the quiz. And I can set a due date. I think I will put a topic in this, so I'll create it and I'll call it science. Help us keep all of our science lessons together. And then the big thing here is to load the form into your assignment through your Google Drive. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive icon here, and I am going to look for my quiz on mammals, and you can search for it. I've opened it recently, so it's in my recent documents. So I'm just going to click it and then add it. And then we have demo quiz on mammals loaded into this. And now I'm going to go ahead and assign it to the class. And so what you can see is that I have the form loaded into Classroom, and I also have that 5 students have not done it. So what this is doing is it's integrating it into Google Classroom and its assignment mechanisms. So why don't I switch over to the student screen for one of our students and go ahead and take the quiz and show you what happens. So now I'm in the demo students account, and I'm in the email. You can see we're in the demo students account. One thing that has happened is that the student has automatically received an email from me about a new assignment. And we've seen this before in other classroom videos. And so the student could open the assignment right from here, from their email. They can also go into their classroom application, which let me open up. And then they can go to sample classroom, right? And they will see that there's this assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and open it as the student. Giving a little help here from Google. And so here is the quiz. So I'm just going to open that up, and that is going to take them over to the form. So I am just going to very quickly take this quiz. As the student, and then I'm going to submit it. Now the student, once again, they can go in here and they can view their score and see which questions they got right and wrong. But let's go back over to the teacher screen very quickly to look at what happened there. So here I am back on the teacher screen. And what you can see now is that one student has completed the assignment. They've taken the quiz, and 4 students have not. So let's go ahead and click into this link here for one done. So we can see that demo student 1 has completed the quiz, and there it is. If we want to see the responses to the quiz in Spreadsheets, we can go ahead and click on this, and that will open the spreadsheet that's connected to our quiz. And we can see the score that they got and their answers in the spreadsheet. Heading back over to Classroom, let's say we wanted to go ahead and return this work, and we want to keep track of all of the grades that our students are making in Google Classroom, because you can actually export all of these later. So I am going to say that student got a 1 of 4 on the quiz, and then I'm going to return the work to them. And as we've seen before, I could leave a private comment and maybe say something like, "Come see me to talk about characterizing mammals," because the score was pretty low. So I'm going to just return that work to the student, and they will get it back with my comment on it and their grade of a 1 of 4. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the rest of the class take the quiz. I'm not going to show you this, but then we're going to do a little bit of work on just analyzing the data that we've collected from this quiz. So now I'm back in the teacher view of Google Classroom. And you can see that all of my students in the class have completed the quiz and turned it in. I have gone ahead and put it in their grades, and you can see that they're all checked here. So I'm going to just bulk return their work to them. And I'm not going to leave a comment this time. I'm just going to return it so they can get their grade, and I have their scores recorded in Classroom. But let's look at the data that we got when the students took this quiz. Let's go over to the form first and see what we get there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that link. I may have done that quickly, but I'm going to click on the link, and that's going to open the form. And then I want to go into the editing view of the form. So as you can see up here, we have the questions right here, and then we have the responses. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the responses tab, and Google does some magic stuff for you here. And this is a great way of sort of looking at how the whole class is understanding your lesson through your quiz. So you can see that you have your average, your median, and then your range here. Nobody scored a 4. So if we were talking about curves, it may be kind of skewed towards the lower end. You can see then which students got which score. So you can kind of look at that, and you can actually click through these to see the individual responses. But then you can look at each individual question and how students responded to that to kind of see how they're doing as a whole. So in this case, 3 of 5 of your students got the question about more species of animals, mammals, correct. But there were 2 students who didn't get that question right. So you might want to think about that a little bit, those 2 students. And then, as we go down here, we can see that 1 student picked the wrong animal, but most of the students in the class seem to be getting that at least a snake is not a mammal. It's a different type of animal. Here you can see that almost every student, 0 of 5, missed this question. So, and this might be a case where you might want to think about characteristics of mammals and maybe how you're explaining that to students, because the whole class didn't seem to get it. They got some of them, but they missed several, and you can see which ones they missed. And then, our last one, you got 5 of 5 correct responses. So everybody in class seems to know that that human beings are mammals. Let's go back to Classroom, though, and let's go ahead and view our responses in spreadsheets, because this is going to give you a much more detailed view of who answered what and how. So when I open up that spreadsheet where the responses were recorded, we can see that the actual answers that each student gave. And you can also see this on the form as well. So if you go over here and scroll up, you have a summary of responses, and then you have individual responses. So you can kind of look at that here, but it may be easier to see on a spreadsheet. So you can sort of look at this and analyze it to figure out if there's maybe a group of students, maybe these students that scored on the lower end of the quiz, that may need some differentiated instruction in your lesson. And you can decide how you want to do that. But I just wanted to show you that the spreadsheet is there. And, if you had quite a few students in this class, you can sort of sort your responses, or you could create a filter in your spreadsheet to see who answered what and how. And so that's very basic analysis of the data that you're collecting in your quiz for differentiation. And it can help you to think about which students need help and how you may need to modify or explain some aspect of your lesson a little bit differently the next time you give it, or moving forward with your students. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please let us know, and take care.